Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca Legon and I'm an amputee lioness and body positive advocate. I am delighted to invite you to the 4th season of the Beyond Disability podcast. In this season, you will be hearing some incredible conversations from our Dorset Orthopaedic patients who have risen to the challenge of adapting their lives after experiencing limb loss or injury. So make sure you click that follow button so you never miss an episode, and I hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to this episode of the Beyond Disability podcast. I'm Natalie, I'm one of the prosthetists at the Amputee Clinic, and I'm here today with Richard, one of my patients. Hello. So Richard, I must have met you maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, so about then, yeah.
And I sort of came in midway through your journey, but where did things start for you?
So originally my journey started in the Air Force in 2019. I had a severe crash to my left foot, which a little over 2 years later resulted in my below knee amputation. From there, I went through all my rehabilitation, got medically discharged from the Air Force, and I wanted to continue doing the sports I had done previously, and that's when I started doing a bit of Googling, found Dorset Orthopaedic because I wanted to get back to snowboarding, and that's how we met. That's when I came into the clinic and had my first appointment with yourself, and the rest, some say, is history.
Yes, it's history, yeah. It feels like no time at all, but also there's been quite a few things that have gone on since that first meeting.
Obviously I got back on the slopes. I've got a wonderful snowboarding leg, which is probably going to require changing soon because I know I've changed shape. But the foot is going to definitely transfer across because that is a brilliant foot. Things have escalated. I ended up going on a trek and obviously made my leg for that as well.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to become a Paralympic archer one day.
So the trek, because I have not spoken to you about it very specifically, so I can get all the details. So I guess we can go right back to the beginning. That I think even when we were doing the snowboarding, you were mentioning about this idea that you wanted to inspire others and do the trek, and then it sort of became a conversation that became an idea that then became support and reality. So I guess how did I don't even actually remember when the conversation started about us getting you involved.
So the snowboard. So obviously we made the snowboarding leg.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I went off to the Invictus Games, competed out there, and I knew it was going to come to an end. You got every athlete who does a big sporting event, they get back crash straight afterwards. And if they do the Olympics, there's a bit of a lull, and then they get back into training. But because I didn't have that, something to go to, get back into training for competitive sport or anything like that, I started looking for the next challenge. And hit Google. I was like, right, what hasn't been done by amputees before? And then the Snowman trek came up. Never heard of it, no idea what it was, so went down that rabbit hole of let's find out a bit more about it, and it was lovingly dubbed the toughest trek in the world.
Yeah, and I'd never heard of it actually until.
No, very few people have. And it's 320 kilometres through the Bhutanese Himalayas at 5,600 metres, and I thought, right, managed to find a little bit about the terrain. It is not what you expect when you get there, I can assure you that. But it's like, okay, to do this, we need a good leg. It's impossible. The standard leg wasn't going to cut it. From what we learned from the research, and that's when I believe contacted Hannah and said, Nat's done a fantastic job with my snowboarding leg. In order for me to achieve my goal in Bhutan, I'm going to need same quality. And it's nothing against the NHS, but because we have that one-to-one, more hands-on approach, it's more personal, tailored service to get the leg we want. I know there was only one option. That was come back and get the service I've already experienced before.
I think we always have said that it's about time, isn't it? Having that time to really make something
Yeah.
custom and perfect, and test it out in all kinds of different ways. It's all well and good just walking up and down
Yeah.
in the clinic room, but I think you did a few trial tracks beforehand.
Yeah, so I think when we got the check socket, I think you sent me away for about 2 weeks with it. And you just don't get that on the NHS. Something like that, for what we're doing, you really do need to be able to see where it's rubbing and stuff like that. So we're in the middle of the mountains, and there's no rescue. The only way out is a helicopter. If something goes wrong with your prosthetic, so it had to be heavy duty, it had to be reliable and as comfortable as we're going to get. And just knowing the service I was going to get, so when I took that check socket, I did a coastal walk around Norfolk, about 15 kilometres, which is probably about the longest on average day we're going to do. And yeah, I was like, okay, so I know where it's rubbing. I knew it was rubbing around my fibular head, so we needed to extend the bubble down the side. Just having that perfect fit, and then obviously come back, make adjustments, and yeah, I think, well, we did. We got a really good socket out of it, and it got me to Bhutan.
It did. And we also we did a little bit of foot discussions, didn't we? Because
yeah,
I think initially you were doing, was it on the Blade XT? Was a lot of your sort of walking?
Yeah.
And we realised that there were certain positives to that, but when it came,
it's a great foot. It's great for what it does, especially when you're getting sore. Because it is a bit more springy, but it takes some of the shock out. But it wasn't going to suit any of it. Every bit of terrain we could come across. So obviously we had that big discussion of can't have hydraulics, because if we get above the freeze line, we know what happens with hydraulic fluid. It starts thickening up. The foot's not going to respond. We don't want too many mechanical components, because if it breaks,
no help.
I'm stuffed. I took 3 legs with me, but you wanted to keep them as simple as possible. If something was to go wrong, how easy is it to swap something out on it? And that's where we came up with the Avanto foot.
Avanto, yeah.
And that foot is a game changer. For a prosthetic foot, it's the closest foot I've experienced to, mimic your actual foot and ankle. Even though there's no actual ankle joint in it, it gives that feedback like there is one.
Yeah.
And because of the half foot in it, the half spring, going on some of the boulders and stuff like that, it allowed the toes to flex more, which normally you would get your actual foot. And it really reacted nicely with the boots, and being able to get in and out of the boot was quite important. You need to change your footwear, and obviously being waterproof as well, because we were going to be crossing through rivers and stuff like that, and if the rain came in, anything.
Yeah. Ticked all the boxes. I
It
remember
did,
it almost felt as though, what do we need for Bhutan? Okay, it needs to be waterproof, right? Okay, it needs to be something flexible but kind of springy and gives feedback at the same time.
And this is where your knowledge comes into its own. I can Google everything I want. I can do all the research, but I don't have experience with the actual foot. I'm not the one fitting it. I don't know the ins and out of it, because that's not my specialty. I'm just the user. But because we had a discussion of what I needed to achieve, that's I think we looked at 2 feet, and I can't remember what the other one possibly suggested was now.
No, I do. I think I can't remember. We definitely had a bit of a discussion of lots of different things that we could explore.
But we definitely put the Avanto through its paces.
It did.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant foot. I want to swap it over onto this leg now. I saw it up in Bhutan, and I still struggle to fit in that socket, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. So when you landed in Bhutan, I know that you did a couple of acclimatization walks, was it? Just to sort of get used to things. One.
Yeah, you fly into Bhutan and it's already 2,500 metres in elevation. There's nothing in the UK. I live in Norfolk, and you can't really acclimatise in Norfolk, being the flattest county we've got, and it's not much above sea level. So when you get to Bhutan, you first land, you go, yeah, I already feel this a little bit. And we had, the next day we had acclimatization hike to 3,000 metres to the Tiger's Nest Monastery. That was a little bit of an eye-opener. It very steep in places, even at 2.5 to 3,000 meters. It was 20 degrees. You're stopping to take your circumliner off everything and sleeve. And apologies, this is disgusting, but any amputee will appreciate you're pouring sweat out, and it's like, okay, so hydration is going to be key here as well, like keeping all the fluids and electrolytes, because it's just it was just oozing out the top of the sleeve.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was a good hike. It was nice to get out about, I think, second or third amputees ever to be there.
It looked fantastic as a place.
Oh yeah, honestly, truly magnificent. It's hard to put into words the scenery. I highly recommend anyone go. Unfortunately, Bhutan's not the most accessible country in the world, but if you are able, and you want to set yourself a bit of a challenge, go to the Titaness Monastery.
So, did it then feel real when you were there?
Yeah.
First day.
Yeah. So we had that. Had dinner with our guide the night before. Set off the actual trek. I mean, it was about a 2-hour drive to what we deem as the official start line out there. And that car journey was just like, okay, the boot is full to the very top with kit bags, carrying 15 kilos on our back with water. I had about 3 litre Camelback inside. Camera equipment, socks, everything you think of, waterproof just in case the weather suddenly changed. And then when you got to the start line, you're just watching, you're driving along, it's just mountains either side of you going, unbelievably steep, massive elevation gains, and you go, okay, we'll see what it's like. And when you start following the riverbed, ancient riverbed, and it's just boulder fields, and you go, right, might have bitten off more than we can chew here.
Hardest trek in the world.
Yeah, even the locals, first disabled people to ever do it.
How did your guide support you in any way differently, or was it just?
So we had, we've been talking online for a while, and via WhatsApp, and basically he said we will. They say you can do it in about 27 to 28 days. We had planned extra if we needed extra rest days for our legs, if we were rubbing, sores, anything like that. But he was really, really good at just, right, let's work it around you. I'll be guided off your day. I've never done this with anyone else before, in the position I was in. So yeah, we came up with a plan. It was like, just set it at your own pace. We'll go as fast or as slow as you need. But being stubborn, and he's like, I'll give you a hand. It's like, nope, I got this. You got your hiking poles, you got your leg, you got your boots, and you're just hoping. You don't actually get a chance to see much of the scenery. You're looking down at where you're positioning your foot most of the time, right? You don't fall over the edge of the mountain.
And there's loads of different terrain as well, because was it shale? Was there loads of bits of unevenness?
So boulder fields, loose rock, dirt, stones, scree fields, shale.
Yeah.
The shale and scree is just whole, because every time you took a step forward, you'd sort of come nearly half a full step back sometimes. So you're sort of snaking your way up instead of trying to just go straight up. It's like skiing, you sort of zigzag your way down the mountain. So you're doing that going up. You're increasing your daily footsteps, but actually it's the most efficient way of getting up. So you feel like you're sort of sidestepping up a bit. But yeah, there was a couple of slips, definitely a few, and a lot of choice words. And again, yeah.
So I know that there was an aim to complete the whole of the Snowman trek, and that actually circumstances did not allow that fully to happen. But you did achieve something prior to that sort of midway point. Tell me a little bit about the world record that you actually achieved.
So you got the half Snowman and the full Snowman. Full Snowman 320 odd kilometres. What we call the half Snowman is about 140. So it's not quite halfway, but it certainly feels like it. But still, really challenging terrain. So I managed to pick up a world record for that, being the first disabled person to complete that. But I was 11 days in. We had a rest day to continue. Unfortunately, my stump had swelled up so much I couldn't fit it in any of my prosthetics. I had quite an old one which was too big for me, but I was like, well, if I do swell up, I can, squeeze into it and I should be okay. But yeah, it was so swollen. I had to force it in just to get to our next layover night, where between the start and the finish line, that's the only road you can get in and out of, and that's where we had as a big resupply for the next 16 days going forward. So, I had 12 horses supporting us and 6 crew. But yeah, unfortunately, my mind, my body, everything was good to go. Unfortunately, my stump hadn't got that message, and I felt like the biggest failure in the world. It was a very hard pill to swallow every step I took. It was a short day, 6 kilometres, and yeah, I didn't want to throw in the towel. I was like, I'm going to force my leg on, I'm going to keep going. But I had a 3-hour discussion with my guide, with my teammate, and it came down to safety. 2-3 days time, there's a bit, and they've had fatalities there. Simple slip and you go tumbling down a mountain. I lose my life or take other people's lives with me, and it just wasn't a safe option to do anymore.
Very hard decision for you to make.
Yeah, very emotional. I always said I wouldn't cry on social media, but it was like, that was a raw emotion which we shared.
I remember seeing the video and my heart went out, but it's I think you made the right decision knowing from the safety side of things, and how
I couldn't jeopardise anyone else's life. I've got a family at home and I had to get back safe home to them.
Plus, part of the whole reason of the trek was proving that people could do it, and it was empowering and inspirational, and you'd already fully achieved that regardless of the distance that had been covered.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Still is amazing.
Yeah, I said amputee has no right to be there. I can tell you that's the way. No amputee has a right to set foot. But yeah, it's an experience I'll never forget. I'm really grateful I was able to do it. Without the leg that was you provided, even getting there wouldn't have happened. You simply wouldn't be able to. We might have got a few days in, and one leg was going to be too big, so that was later for always planned to be later on. The blade was great, but it wasn't going to over the boulder fields where it curves around. It kept sliding down the boulders, so it wasn't great for footing. It was great going uphill because I use that when I go snowboarding. I take my snowboarding leg off and I put my blade on and I can walk on snow and ice on it because it's got really good grip.
Yeah.
So it was great for certain terrain, but the boulder fields it was awful. I had one situation where my left leg slipped forward, I landed on my right leg, so I was stuck under my bum. I had about 300 almost a vertical drop to my right hand side, and I had the mountain wall to my left, and I couldn't get it. My blade was just sliding on the floor, so I'm there with my sticks sticking inside the mountain. I'm trying to rock to try and free my right leg so I could stand up and carry on. That was a nervous moment.
I was going to say, that sounds quite scary.
Yeah, that was pretty terrifying. I don't like heights.
No, I'm not sure I'd like a sheer drop from feeling unsteady on this path that I'm walking on. There's a lot of that, and you're looking down there going, one slip and that's it. It'll be helicopter in and it'll be a repat home. How supportive were your family through the whole process and when you went home as well?
Really, really supportive. I said after Invictus finished, I needed something to work towards. I needed a goal. I needed to still prove to myself that I was 37, but I'm getting older. Body's going to start wearing sooner than later. What can I do? And that's when I flared the idea by my wife, and she's like, I don't think originally she was keen on the idea, but I think because she saw it was a bit for myself to show other people with disabilities, what is still possible. I'm not the greatest athlete in the world. I was never really an adventurer. Yes, I served in the armed forces, but it wasn't anything like what I was going out there to do. And then obviously we had 10 months of planning, training, nothing at altitude, so we were just hoping for the best. So by getting our cardio levels up, we set us up good going forward. And she was my kids. When I left, that was a very emotional day. Dropping my son to school and saying, I'll see you in a month.
Yeah.
And then my daughter and my wife there, rather teary to leave, because I was like, I'm the one doing this. This is me deciding to get away. Whereas if I went away before, it was because it was my job. And then when I got back, I felt like I was at sort of rock bottom, because I felt I'd failed, and it took a lot for my wife to go, you haven't. What you've achieved is more than anyone. But we had people saying it's impossible. You can't do it. Even locals thought we were mental. They'd never, some of them never even seen amputees. They were shocked. We had kids running up to us, looking at our legs, taking off, and it was very powerful emotions out there. You're trekking with your thoughts, and then to get back, because my leg, for me, that had failed me, and for the first time since being amputee, I actually resented it, and I was back in my nemesis, my wheelchair. I hate my wheelchair. Now I know it's good for getting me out and about still. It keeps my independence, but I like to be up on my legs and doing as much as I can. So 3 weeks, because of the swelling, I was in it, completely off my leg, letting that go down, and it took a bit for me to actually start realising with my wife and close friends saying, you did the right thing and you've actually achieved far more than most people ever will.
I agree, definitely agree.
So I was, and now I've sort of looked at that and gone, do you know what, they're right, and I'm now using that as a strength going forward.
So knowing that challenges kind of come one challenge then the next, what's your current challenge that you've set your mind to?
So as a result of Invictus, I did, one of the sports I did was archery out there, and really enjoyed it. I only did it because I shot the bow at the country shows and stuff, and I was like, let's have a bit of fun with it, why not, let's see what I can do. And I was told that, I've got a little bit of a talent for it, and maybe I want to look at it as a sporting career potentially. So I put my name forward for the National Talent Development Programme. I got selected I got British classification, selected for the Para Academy, with the intention of hopefully one day making it to the Paralympics. So whether I make it or not, I don't know. All I can do is keep trying, keep practicing, keep trying to improve. If I make it, incredible, what a journey. But even if I don't, I've had a wonderful time doing it. I've got a sport for life I can do.
Do you do it with your son?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got him into it, yeah. He's pretty good. He's much better in the swimming pool.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
that's where his strengths lie.
Yeah, he's a very talented little swimmer. But so for his birthday last year, we bought him a full setup. We go to the range and we shoot at home. And he really enjoys it. It's nice to be able to do something with him. My daughter wants to, so she's got little sticky bows and arrows which you see through the windows. She comes out of the garden with us and she's shooting them along as well. So I think when she gets to about 7, she'll want her own setup as well.
Okay.
But it's
Family
great.
affair.
It's nice because it is a really inclusive sport.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how inclusive it is. We got people on the academy who, they're W1 classified. They're strapped into a wheelchair. They've got straps around the waist because they got no core stability, and they're some of the best archers I've seen. You got an American, you got an Indian who no arms, so they shoot with their feet and teeth release. I've seen Ukrainians shooting with one arm, we had a Brit shooting with one arm, teeth release. So it's amazing how many ways it can be adapted. Archery, for people with limb loss and various disabilities, and I've met some really incredible people along the way as well.
What does your training look like? Are you doing that locally, or do you have to be away a little bit?
So I shoot for my local club, Wyndham Archers, but I also train. Unfortunately, I can train some of the distance at home. So I go down to the range, do a bit of training at home. The academies are about every 8 weeks, so I go over towards Lilleshall. I do 2 days training there. I have one of the coaches on that. He lives about an hour away, so he comes up. I have every week or two I have coaching with him, and I'd like to say I'm slowly improving, but this is my first competitive season, especially shooting 70 metres outdoors, and I'm discovering just how challenging the wind can be. So yeah, when you watch the best archers and power archers in the world, and they're shooting in 30, 35 mile an hour winds and gusts, and they're still hitting 9s and 10s, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of practice which goes into it. Yeah, it's really impressive as well. So I can hope to join the ranks with them one day. But yeah, so yeah, at the moment it's just train, go to a gym, do a lot of conditioning training, strength and conditioning, and competitions now, and just building up, getting used to those nerves, because we all know it's like you do something for the first time, and yeah, the nerves get to you, get shaky, and you're all over the target or something. It's the same in any sport, it can really throw you. So I'm trying to get those nerves that they become, just something in the background. I don't even notice them. I can still shoot as well as I could on just a normal training day.
With no wind.
With no wind, but every competition I've done so far this year has just been really windy, and it comes from all different directions. I'm like, oh god, this is a challenge.
Is that where you have to sort of do the whole thing, like lick your finger, put it in the air?
Thankfully we've got flags for that. If you got sort of licking fingers on the line. So we just gauge that. But yeah, there's so much I've still got to learn with archery. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying the sport.
No, it's different. It's cool though. Did you ever think about doing it as a kid, or was it all come from Invictus and just the opportunity to?
No, so in my teens I was a swimmer. So it's completely different to doing this now. So that's why I did swim at the Invictus Games. I had to put a 20-year-old demon to bed, and I managed to achieve that. Actually set a personal best, even at 36 at the time, one leg, a bit of a dad bod, and I actually went faster than I did when I was training 9 times a week as a teen. So I'll take that any day. For me, that was my Paralympic gold. And I officially hung up the speedos for the final time. Then I'm not competitive racing in the pool anymore.
Just archery.
Yes.
Yeah,
and see what else comes up.
Is there anything else? So I know that I guess potential Paralympics is quite a nice goal to head towards. Is there anything else that you would think about for the future as like a new challenge?
So I've got my own sort of challenge. I was never a very well educated kid. I struggled in school. So I haven't got a wonderful vocabulary. I'm not very poetic with the way I describe things on times, but I'm currently co-authoring a book about overcoming adversity, turning any loss into sensational comebacks. So that for me, that is a huge challenge, because I've got like 5,000 words for a chapter, and yeah, hopefully it'll be out on sale next year.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
Man of many skills.
So this was really testing me, because academics was never my thing.
Yeah.
So actually, physical stuff I can sort of get into. I find it easy to get fit and get into that training regime. But to actually put my story into words on paper, and I know my story really well, but actually trying to put it onto paper and go, I want people to see that, if an average guy with a very mediocre education can go off and achieve all these things, that anyone can. Because as I said, there's nothing really special about me. I just see myself as an average guy who ends up becoming disabled, and I just have a stubborn refusal to let life keep me down. So whilst I can, I want to show what I can do for myself, for my children and others out there, and hopefully people will join on the journey along the way. And even if I was getting out of bed one day, because that is, when I was in the worst pain of my life with CRPS, that was the biggest challenge. Getting out of bed was like climbing Everest, and if I could achieve that, what could I do the next day? So it's doing 1%ers. So setting yourself, trying to improve 1% each day.
It's a nice mindset to have.
Try to stick by it. It's not always like that. There are the challenging days when your leg's just not behaving, but it's how can I adapt to today's situation.
I feel as though you're quite passionate about sort of inspiring others and being motivational, so that it's not just your journey, you want to share your journey so people can learn from it, grow from it, gain something from it. We met recently at the Owen Mitchell conference, and I know that they sort of supported you through your claim journey, but sharing your story, and I think do you do quite a lot of other motivational speaking, or is that?
So again, this is another sort of self-project for myself. I hate talking to big crowds. I tense up, I sweat uncontrollably. It's completely out of my comfort zone. So it's another barrier for me to break through. But like I said, coming from quite humble beginnings, I said, didn't do well in school at all. I retired from swimming to focus on my education, which I was stuffed up anyway. Joined the armed forces. That rug got taken away, pulled from under my feet, and I lost my career. Did Invictus, that finished. Then the track, I'm like, well, I refuse to I just won't quit. That's my problem. I won't quit. I've done a couple of talks, prosthetics and amputation conference. Met some other amputees and listened to their stories. And sometimes I think, mine feels so trivial, but everyone's journey is individual. You shouldn't really compare. I don't think we should compare ourselves to others. But it's so easily done. I still find myself going, God, look what they're achieving. But I'm like, that's their journey. That's not mine. I've got to forge my own path. I've got to do it for myself, and I want to try and do it for others who can't necessarily do it. I've started doing lectures at my local university as a guest lecturer, just sharing my journey, and that's sort of how having the right mindset. You can achieve anything, but also surrounding yourself with people who are going to lift you up and encourage you instead of hearing you can't do that. Because the amount of times I've heard since losing my leg, you might never be able to do that. That's like a red flag, isn't it? If somebody tells you can't do that, it's like, I'm going out my way
don't
to
push
prove
the red
you up.
button.
Yeah. So it's like, right, the flag's there, right, let's go for it. And when we were told, that it's almost impossible. No one's ever done the Snowman track. Well, guess what? Someone's going to.
Yeah. You did.
Yeah. Well, I gave it my best shot at least.
No, you did it.
It's nice to share my story. It's nothing really inspiring and that special, but having lived with CRPS and been in the worst imaginable pain of my life to the point that there is no other option but to remove your foot. When you first hear that, just such a clinical way of saying amputation's the only route. You think, my life's over. You think, like, cutting a bit of me away, something that's taken me through childhood, through my career, into adulthood, everything like that. I mean, it's just going to be gone. But because it was so useless to me, actually losing it afforded me to get my life back.
It's the unknown, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And it's also, I always find there's two routes where if it's really traumatic and people have to have quite sudden amputation, you just have to, your mindset has to be different of coming around to it. But making that decision, I think, is a completely different mindset, because your head has to go through all the options, and really you don't have answers to what that looks like.
Yeah, and I was on, for CRPS, I was on so many meds. My brain was pretty much a fog anyway. Some stuff I was taking, I could move my arm and my brain would register it like a second later. Everything was just on a delay. I was just going through the motions of life but not really present. But because I couldn't do anything at all because of the level of pain, if I started laughing, it generally felt like my foot was going to explode. I had searing red heat, like my foot was just going to go. And then, when I hear that, the four surgeons unanimously say, we need to amputate. We've tried everything else. It sort of hits you, it's like a bit of a gut punch. It hits you deep down. You're like, oh my God. But for me, that was hope. So, okay, we now have a plan. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. Life, the colour I'd found in life just disappeared, and it was just this dark shadow over me. I was miserable, I was depressed, I gained a lot of weight because I couldn't do anything. I was taking off the tools as a mechanic, and I was put behind the desk, which wasn't me, and I was just trying to live. I was just trying to get through the next day, each day and the next day, and just trying to. So when the actual amputation came, I stubbornly we bought a wheelchair, and it's like, no, this is the last time I'm going to walk on my 2 feet. So every burning hot, agonising step into the operating room, I just grit my teeth through, because like, this is the last time I get to do this. And then the next day I came round and looked down and my foot was gone, but I didn't feel sort of sickened by it. It looked weird. You look down and it's like, oh, I've had a pair of feet and now I've just got the one, and it just stops just below the knee, and you've got all bandages and tubes. But that pain that was always there was just gone.
So, how long have you been an amputee?
4 years on the 29th of July.
Do you celebrate that day? Do you have an ampuversary?
I definitely do have an ampuversary. I think most of us do when we've lost a limb. I use it as a chance to sort of reflect on how far I've come, because I know from my original injury in May 19, things just got worse and worse, and I say life got very, very grey. You know, any colour was just gone, and I was miserable. Put a lot of weight on. I was the biggest I've ever been. I hated my parents, so that day that was the reset. That was, let's go again. You know, let's get my life back, and actually, can I improve on who I was before my injury? I think I got comfortable doing my job and just going through routine. You know, getting my orders, go fix this, fix that, service that. I now look back at what have I achieved, how I've sort of dealt with the setbacks, because it's not been just a straight road of recovery and achievements. It's, I think 7 weeks after my amputation, I took my first steps in the PAMAID. Took my first steps in there. At 8 weeks, I got my first socket and took my first steps with help of the parallel bars. Mm-hmm. And from there, I was like, it was just like, I'm getting my life back. I'm walking awkwardly, but I'm walking. Actually, walking better than I had when I was confined to crutches and walking sticks. And I was like, right, let's just keep going. I set myself one of the challenges in a year. I want to run. I want to try and run. I couldn't run beforehand anyway, but I set myself that challenge. And one day before my first ampuversary, I ran for the first time on my blade. So I was like, mission accomplished.
Yeah. What's
next? But then I had a period where something happened. No idea what it was. I had intense pain just behind my calf, between my fibula and calf muscle, and I couldn't use a single leg. Couldn't fit in one. It was agony. Something you bash your nose makes your eyes water. It was doing that to me. It was really sharp, and I felt it was right at the back of my leg into my left buttock. So I was back in my wheelchair. I hated it because progress had been brilliant. I was doing so well. I hadn't really had any issues. Yeah, I had sore legs, so it's managing that, and I knew I was going to have to use a wheelchair from time to time. But that was, how long is this going to go on for? And it was about 3 weeks, and then something pinged, popped, did something in my leg. No one knows what it was, even my consultant doesn't know. And I tried to get my leg on, and that sort of pain sort of went almost instantly. I was like, oh, I can put my leg on. Walking was still a bit uncomfortable, so it was those baby steps, just walk around the house, and then, within a few days, all right, let's have a little walk around town. I'd take a walking stick just to help unload it a bit, just to get the leg used to being back in a socket. And then, from there, it was just, right, everything's good, let's just keep going, but monitor my stump, healthcare, hygiene, everything is really important, I've learned. Because if I'm not looking after it, I'm not using my leg, you know. So it's just listen to what's going on with it. That's what I've learned. So really focus. But this is where having a good prosthetic as well, because if you've got really poor fitting prosthetic, it's going to limit what you can do.
I think as well, it's we've always sort of said it's the relationship, because it's you explaining something to me understanding it, and then sort of putting that into whatever it needs to be, whether it's a socket change or a foot position or like a tweak to your alignment. That sort of, it's millimeters that make the sort of difference.
Yeah, it's always awkward, you know. I think the first time I came here, I don't know you don't know me. I've always been quite open about, you know, what happened and what I hope to achieve. You know, from my experience with all my sort of therapy team, my physio, my prosthetists in the military, mental health, everything like that, you've got to build a relationship. Because if I'm not going to tell you what's going on with my leg, you know, how something feels, what I want to do, you're not going to provide the product I need, you know, and the end result's just going to be rubbish.
Yeah.
You know, I can say, oh yeah, if it's great, but actually it's uncomfortable because I don't want to insult, you know, I don't want to insult
People like to be polite.
Yeah.
People love to be polite.
You know, wait to ask you how your meal is, and it's lovely, and typical Brits. But yeah, so, but I think I've always tried to be honest, and like,
people need to be honest. Can't fix something or change something that I don't know is there.
Yeah.
So it's really important having sort of that openness where I can be honest with you. If you say something and I go, we can attack that from a different way, or great idea, or let's try and see how things are. And also it's trust. When I say, let's see how it settles, take it, try it, and then when you come back and see me, we'll see what that's looking like. And I think that, you know, probably in the very early stages when we didn't know each other, it's hard when I say, like, trust me, let's see what happens, and you go, oh, okay. And now I'll go, hopefully. So trust me, and you'll go, okay.
When we're discussing, you know, my snowboarding leg, you're like, these are the feet, these are the 2 feet really you can use for it, you know, for what you want to do. I had no idea, you know. I'd only done 5 days snowboarding when I had 2 meat feet, and you know, the plan was I'm going to try and get back on it. So, you know, I was trying to use my everyday foot. It was just too rigid. It didn't have the give I needed. I was making adjustments in the pylons, and I'm trying to angle it. And when you said, right, you got the Biodapt foot, or you got the
Procarve.
Procarve.
Yeah.
And we went with the Biodapt, just because for what I want to do, actually, it's more versatile for my lifestyle than the Procarve was. And it's a brilliant foot. You know, I can't argue with it. I love the fact that I can adjust it to exactly what I need. You know, it's ideal for snowboarding. I can do it for weightlifting. I'd like to say I use it for a motorbike, but that's a conversation I've got to have with the wife. But yeah, it really suits my lifestyle, and because it's almost infinitely adjustable with the pressures and for the feedback I require. It's a great foot. So that will just go on to my next leg when I need it.
And we had the that was the Spider-Man socket, wasn't it?
That was, yeah, because my little boy,
my
little boy loves Spider-Man. So I wanted to make it as, you know, so he was like, oh, that's really cool, Dad, because, you know, the kids are fine. You know, they don't really remember me with both. My daughter never will. She was only 9 months old when I lost my leg. My son, it pains me, but he only remembers sometimes when I was really snappy with him, because he was like 2 when the CRPS really set, or nearly 3 when the CRPS set in, and I was just horrible to be around. So he remembers like little snippets here and there of it, and that's not what I want him remembering. So I want to make it, you know, the leg as natural as possible, to the point where, you know, I've got 6 prosthetics now. My daughter, who's 4, calls me an octopus because I've got so many limbs. You know, and when I do school run, I wear it. The kids are like, that's Spider-Man. You know, they all know what it is. You know, it sort of normalises, because heaven forbid anything like that happens to them, or they just see it and go, oh, I could get something like that. So it becomes normal. They don't see the disability. They actually just see something really cool. You know, it's my robot leg, and they think it's really cool, the kids do. I think it's really important to sort of just normalise limb loss and disabilities in general, because we're still people at the end of the day.
How important is like peer support, do you think? when it comes to sort of amputation, disability, everything?
Oh, incredibly important. You can try and do it on your own, but I don't think you're going to succeed as well. Yes, there's people out there like myself who are stubborn. We won't let it get us down. It won't let us stop. But you are going to get the down days. You are going to have the setbacks, and it's going to be like a kick in the teeth. You get so frustrated when you're like, right, I can't do this, or I'm in agony, and that changes your whole attitude, or you're having to take meds for the pain and stuff like that. But by having the right people around you who are going to support you, lift you up, and tell you you can do this, they're the people you need around. I mean, being around other people in a similar situation as yourself, or seeing others who, I don't ever say for a second, I'm a blown amputee, my life's harder than somebody with an above knee or multiple limbs missing, or somebody who's a wheelchair user. I don't believe for a second my life's any harder. But I can appreciate some of the challenges they may face. And when I see them succeeding, that empowers me. That gives me drive to go off and go, do you know what? If they're doing it, I don't have an excuse.
Yeah.
Not comparing myself to others, but it's like, you are achieving such wonderful things. Why am I putting an obstacle in the way? Why am I using this as an obstacle not to do it?
I actually don't think that I've spoken to you, because Invictus happened before I met you. So I'm not even sure that I've spoken really a lot about it, although I know it was quite pivotal in some of the stuff that you do now, and you speak so highly of the experience.
Yeah.
What got you involved? Like, how did you get involved?
So, obviously, Invictus has been running since 2014, and it's to help wounded, injured, and sick serving veterans, from various armed forces across the world. And I've seen it before, I'd heard about it, but I always thought I wasn't broken enough. I imagine there's probably a lot of people who've done it who go, I'm not broken enough to do it, and haven't applied. But somebody said, one of the admin at Stamford Hall was like, have you considered it? I was like, put your name forward. Royal British Legion are running it for Dusseldorf. Why don't you put your name? So I did. I went to the trials where I had all sorts of different sports on. It was basically have a go. And it's there to help you with your recovery journey. It's not just it's not just a sports and event. It's to show you whatever's happened to you, there is there's a sport that can be adapted, and it's not just doing the sport. It's the mental health elements of it, and it's getting to connect and meet others who are in a very similar situation to yourself. So everyone's individual, but somebody else with PTSD or limb loss or something like that, you're going to connect with, because you have that commonality. So yeah, I was amazed when I actually went through that, put my did the little why is it going to help me? And for me it was, I want to see what I can do, because right now I feel like I'm limbo. I don't know what I can achieve, and it's just going to help. It's going to give me that fire again, hopefully, to pursue extra activities going on, and maybe find a new sport, because at that moment in time I didn't know what I was going to be able to do. And then I found out I made the team, and that's when the real training. So I chose my sports: rowing, swimming, and indoor rowing on the row erg. Row erg, swimming, and the archery. And what a journey that was. I met some really incredible, truly inspiring people who are all on their own journey, and still, and probably forever will be on their own journeys, but just will not let it conquer them. They want to conquer their situation. I don't want to say disability, because not everyone's got a disability, but their personal situation there and then, they want to conquer it, and they're achieving it like you wouldn't believe. It's really empowering, really inspirational to see. And because we all, we've all served, or are still serving. You've got that banter, you've got that camaraderie. I haven't really experienced in Civvy Street. And then you're going for your training, you're supporting each other, you encourage each other to, like, even when I can't do it anymore, I'm done in. It's like, you can, because you are. You're just tired. Go have a Snickers or take a break. Shoulder the cry on. Just someone to bend someone's ear, just somebody who listens, because they get it. They've experienced something very similar to you. And when you get out to the games, and what an atmosphere! Like I said, most of us will enter not as athletes, but you want to have a go at something, try and feel like you're getting your life back a bit. And you have your opening ceremony, you walk out to 35,000 spectators all cheering. Wow. For the 20 plus nations. And you're going, God, they're here celebrating us, because they believe in the power of sport as part of recovery, and for the sacrifices they've made. And go and meet Prince Harry, and I know I've got the most cliche RAF moustache going, which he was then sort of like twanging and everything, and when he found out, decided to wipe his hands off on his trousers. But I wasn't army, so but it was a phenomenal experience, and to get into the pool and pick up 4 gold medals, and do it in front of my family. First medal came in, second, third, and then when I looked up and I realised I picked up a 4th, and I just gave it everything I had, to prove to myself I could still do it. And then seeing my family absolutely jump for joy, I just dry rope on, straight across, massive hug and kiss with the family, and then it was, right, let's go back and celebrate with the team. And when you're watching people who are overcoming fear of water and absolutely smashing it in the pool like they've been doing it for years, it's an incredible thing to witness. And there's a lot of raw emotion that comes out of that event, but then people go away with something. They leave with hope, self-empowerment, and a new belief that they are capable.
I guess a lot of sort of, like you say, camaraderie, friendships coming from it, lifelong friendships, and
I've got some really incredible friends who I count myself very lucky to have.
The theme of this season's podcast is Rise to the Challenge. So we have a podcast challenge for you. So first challenge question: where would you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Oh, way to put me on the spot. That's a tricky one. I'd like to say I've either been or I'm still on my journey to the Paralympics. But I'd like to see myself still hopefully empowering others to take on their own challenges, and just getting as many people involved in different activities, and using sport as a recovery process, and then believing in themselves again.
That's nice. That's you're very selfless. There's in a lot of your you're always thinking about ways that you can help others.
I'm here. I put the work in, but I'm here because I've surrounded myself with the right people, and one of the biggest people was my wife, Tony. Without her, I wouldn't have achieved half of the things. She's the one who's looking after the kids and a job and a house and everything like that, whilst I'm going off and just pushing myself physically. Surrounding yourself with the right people, that certainly makes a massive difference. So not everyone has someone like my wife, so if I can be one of those voices that they hear and they go, do you know what, I can do it, I can believe in myself again, I'm willing to do the stupid stuff for people to see that, and just start believing in themselves once again.
So the second part of the challenge is if you could go back 10 years to your younger self and give yourself a piece of advice or discuss where you are now, what would you say?
Yeah, really challenging question there. 10 years ago, I was quite happy turning spanners, fixing engines and stuff. I think I got into just a routine. You know, I was just fixing things, diagnosing faults day to day, waiting for my next overseas tour, and yeah, I was probably just trying to chase the next rank. And I think I just got into that rut, you know, just comfort. Being comfortable's okay, but it's not exciting. So I think I stopped believing in myself. For a long time, I didn't believe in myself, and I think I just got content with that. So if I knew what was going to happen down the line, you know, now you know, if I could go back, like, believe in yourself, push yourself out your comfort zone, do things you can turn around like, I did that, and just enjoy life, because we're only going to get one shot at it. And before we know, you know, something happens one day, and you know, you might not be able to do the one thing you love if you're a sportsman and you can't play that sport. But it's not the end of the world, because there's so many things out there for you to go off and enjoy. Get out there and see the world, do it with the right friends, and be proud of yourself.
Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story and having a chat with me. It's been really nice having a good sort of chat and hearing about everything.
Thanks for having me on. As always, it's a pleasure seeing you, and hopefully I'll be in the clinic soon for my next leg.
Yes, new socket work pending.
Absolutely.